I just finished my second cycle this year on the most powerful weight loss drug of all time, the hard R Retatrutide. But this time I hacked the protocol to do the impossible. I packed on pure, dense skeletal muscle mass while shedding body fat off of my body at the same time. Today I'm giving you the exact blueprint on how I did this for myself, how I've been able to do this for others, and everything you'll need to know if you want to do it for yourself. If your goal is to look lean with low body fat but still have tons of muscle, sit down because we're about to rewrite the rules of human optimization. Before we get started, it is important to note that I'm not a doctor and none of this should be considered medical advice. And if you plan to follow through with any of the protocols that we're going to talk about here today, it's important that you only do so under the direct supervision of a specialist medical provider in this field. Now, without any further ado, let's get started. For those of you that are new to this page, Retatrutide is a triple agonist peptide, meaning it targets 3 different pathways: your GLP, GIP, and glucagon. Most people are familiar with the effects of the first of the 3, which is the GLP-1, which is things like Ozempic, tirzepatide that are known to suppress the appetite. The reason Retatrutide has become so revolutionary is because of the other 2 pathways. My favorite way to understand Retatrutide is to think of the entire body like a nightclub. There are bouncers at different doors throughout this club. The front door, the one that lets the people in, that's your GLP-1. We want to keep the club at the optimal environment inside. And the guys that are the riffraff, the ones that are going to cause problems and fights, that's your junk food, that's your high inflammation foods, seed oils, whatever you're going to call it. It keeps all of those outside. Because it doesn't only suppress appetite, it suppresses the cravings for any of that junk food. So even when they try to bribe the bouncer with $100, it still rejects them. Bouncer number 2, your GIP, is the guy that stands in front of the VIP room. VIP room is only cool if not everybody gets in. This is your fat storage. We don't want this room crowded, otherwise we're gonna look fat and gross. So when carbs try to sneak their way into the VIP room, but they've only got regular admission bands, the GIP grabs them by the collar and chucks them out of there, puts them back into the main room, which is where you want them. That's muscle growth. And coming up, I'm gonna tell you his 2 buddies that are out there on the main dance floor that he's gonna meet up with that are gonna make him work even better. Bouncer number 3 is your glucagon. This is the DJ who cranks up the volume, gets everybody on the dance floor moving faster, burning more calories, and upgrades the tempo. This is gonna raise our metabolic rate, or the rate that we burn calories even while we're at rest, because our internal nightclub is kicking at full volume. A few months ago, I did something kind of dumb. I ran Retatrutide at 4 milligrams a week. Now, for an obese person who's drastically overweight, this is a great dose and can have a lot of positive impacts. But for me, somebody who was just a little bit chubby and wanted to take off their fluff, this was way overdoing it. And this is a problem we're seeing in the fitness industry time and time again, where everybody wants their results tomorrow and they end up causing way more harm than good. The fat vanished like nothing, and in the moment, I didn't even think I was doing anything wrong. All I saw was my veins were coming back and I was happy. Then all of a sudden, I saw the problem. I started with Reta because I was getting a little bit fluffy and I wanted to take off that extra layer of fat. So I started with a pretty reasonable dose, around 1 milligram a week. All of a sudden, it was way easier to stay in a calorie deficit, and I saw the fat start going quick. But if you know anything about Reta, you know that you have to increase your dose each couple weeks to make sure that you're still getting that appetite suppression that you're looking for. Well, after 3 months, I found myself at 4 milligrams, and all of a sudden, I was looking a little skeletal. Here I am thinking I was doing everything right, not realizing I was just wasting all the muscle I spent all that time building. I got fat for no reason. The whole point of the bulk was to build all that muscle, and then I just wasted it. This is the same story that's happening to hundreds of thousands of people when it comes to Retatrutide, because everyone is being advised how to use it completely wrong. And don't even get me started on people that are using Ozempic or tirzepatide from their regular primary care doctor, who are giving them terrible advice and turning them into anorexia patients. At the end of the day, the purpose of this channel is for me to make the mistakes and save you guys the time and money so that you don't have to. And in this one, I found the key, I found the twist that the medical industry is missing. The problem wasn't the compound, it was the strategy behind it. Traditional fitness culture forces us into one of 2 pathways. We're either bulking up and stuffing our face to gain muscle, or we're cutting food entirely to try to get lean and have stomach veins. And then you find yourself yo-yoing up and down in weight because you're never happy when you're fat, and you're certainly not happy when you're skinny. But what if you could eat in a calorie surplus and continue to gain size and muscle while keeping a lean physique? Eating all those extra carbohydrates aren't going to your gut, now they're going to your biceps. Well, after my first failure with the hard R, I went back to the lab and configured the exact stack that I needed to make this a reality, and I've got it. I've coined the term on this protocol, the summer stack, because this is what anybody who wants to get in beach level physique needs to do over the next 2 months. Starting with what most doctors are under-prescribing the most when it comes to any GLP-1 protocol, and that's because it's the most misunderstood part of all of medicine. I'm of course talking about hormones. This is a non-negotiable on Retatrutide, especially for men. When you use a powerful metabolic driver like Reta, the body goes under insane systemic stress. Specifically things like nutrient shifts that can cause extreme catabolism, which is just a fancy way of saying your body is eating its own muscle for energy. Increasing your testosterone, whether that be with TRT or in clomiphene, directly counters this side effect, increasing cellular nitrogen retention, which forces muscle protein synthesis. Reta changes everything about the way our bodies use fuel for energy, and if you don't do your hormones properly, it will gladly take your muscle along with the fat that it's using for energy. It's almost like that little stick on the end of the mailbox. When you flip it up, it lets the mail guy know it's time to empty everything out of that mailbox. But if you keep it down, the guy just keeps on driving right past it and doesn't touch it. That's my best analogy on how the hormones help your body manipulate what gets used for energy. This becomes pivotally important because what most people don't realize is when you're losing tons of weight and when you're losing tons of fat, you're also drastically altering your hormones. And the last thing that you want to do when you're already lethargic is have crash testosterone. This is why we're starting to see this physique all too common today, where people lose tons of weight on Reta, have tons of loose skin and nothing to fill it out, and they look like melted ice cream. Not only that, but the emotional battle on this is terrible because now you have malnutrition, you're suppressed in all of your vitamins and nutrients, and you've got low testosterone. Talk about a recipe for feeling like shit. From a pharmaceutical standpoint, easiest way to fix this is incorporate something that is going to help balance your testosterone. This can be TRT, clomiphene, even things like kisspeptin, something. Compound number 2 on this list is going to be some sort of growth hormone secretagogue. If you watch this page, you know my favorite is tesamorelin ipamorelin blend, and if you're doing Reta, I would not recommend doing it without these two. Retatrutide significantly slows down gastric emptying, meaning your food is going to sit in your stomach for longer. A lot of people don't realize that this blunts your natural nutrient absorption. This can leave your skin, your joints, and your hair starving for any sort of recovery sequence. Increasing our growth hormone helps the liver create more IGF-1, which is the ultimate hormone when it comes to forcing rapid cellular repair. This is going to protect our skin and our hair density from the GLP-1 look. Not only that, but IGF-1 is also the most important player when it comes to anything muscle growth. Like we talked about, one of the biggest problems when it comes to Retatrutide is that people end up looking like skeletons. If we want to continue to build rapid muscle growth as if we were on a bulk while staying on Retatrutide to keep us lean, the only way to really do this effectively is to incorporate a GH secretagogue like Tesa-IPA, because that IGF-1 is going to be the #1 driver when it comes to anything muscle development. Without some sort of GH peptide, Reta can very easily have you looking flat, a little bit malnourished, and not looking as healthy and as vibrant as you wanted to take peptides for in the first place. If you want to imagine the body as some sort of internal construction site, and there's a highway that feeds material to this construction site every day, Retatrutide is going to cause some traffic jams on that highway, so our normal delivery route is now slowed down. Adding in the Tesa-IPA is like avoiding the highway entirely and flying the materials in by helicopter, but they're not just any materials, they're materials that are twice as strong and durable as anything that was getting delivered on the trucks. The last part you need to know about how to do this properly is everybody thinks that you need to be in some crazy calorie surplus to get lean. But when you do this protocol correctly, you can actually be in calorie surplus, gain muscle by using the proper hormonal treatments like testosterone, growth hormone secretagogues, but still burning the fat. Because of how well the Retatrutide works to upregulate your metabolic rate, you're going to want to feed yourself more. A lot of people try to stay in that same calorie window that they were in before the Reta, and then they find out that Reta is going to just increase the amount of calories that they're burning, but they're still trying to eat in that deficit from before. This doubles the weight loss and doubles the muscle loss. Well, the cool part about this is if you eat in a minor calorie surplus, your body is still trained to burn that extra fat, but now you're eating the proper nutrients and resources to continue to build and gain muscle. All of these pieces drawn together create the ultimate storm where people can put on tons and tons of lean muscle while shedding fat and still seeing those abs and stomach veins like we all like to see. I understand not everybody's into the stomach veins, but I think it's cool, so it's in the video. A few things to be cautious of with this. Number 1, I do not recommend going to your regular primary care provider. They are probably going to mess this up because the only way to mitigate a lot of these problems with GLP-1s is proper hormone therapy. And as we all know, they have literally no idea how hormones work because it's not taught in the medical school system. So I would recommend that you only go to a specialist in this field. Now, obviously, you guys know I have my own company, my own medical platform where I have created a designated team who specializes in this kind of medicine. You can go to us, it's otmens.com. or you can go to anybody who is a specialist in hormone and regenerative medicine. It doesn't have to be me, but please don't make the mistake of going to some regular doctor who's just going to write the script the way the insurance companies and the big pharmaceutical companies tell them to write it, and they don't care about your outcomes. It is really important that you do this the right way. The right doctor is going to ask a few questions. First thing they're going to ask is when you got your last blood work done. If your doctor is not asking for your blood work when they're prescribing this stuff to you, they've got no clue what they're doing. And if they're not asking about certain biomarkers, like your testosterone level, your IGF level, or if they're not even bringing up the fact that you should be testing those, this is the wrong guy. That's why I've created blood panels specifically for this stack on my company website, so that people can actually go forth with the protocol without worrying about altering the wrong biomarkers. You're going to want to look at your basic organ function. You're going to want to look at how your body is handling the current stress level that it has to make sure that when you integrate a system like this, you're not overwhelming it. Now, this becomes really difficult for people in a lot of areas because most doctors, like I said, are just not trained in this type of medicine. Not their fault. It's just not in their schooling and they don't know any better. I've said this in other videos before, but I will tell you the number one telltale sign of the wrong guy is if you go in asking for hormonal treatment and they bring up Clomid, clomiphene, different than N-clomiphene, just clomiphene citrate, this person is either scamming you because it has much higher margins than any of the other two products, or they're that bad at their job where they think it's the most effective hormonal treatment because it's the most studied. Well, it comes with tons of negative side effects, and I don't need to go into all of them right now. I've gone over them before, but general red flag, if anyone's offering you Clomid or clomiphene citrate, get out of there fast. And on that same note, if you do find somebody willing to give you TRT, if they are telling you to do things like gonadorelin to preserve your fertility, absolute scammer or absolute should not be practicing medicine, because gonadorelin has no impact on fertility. The only thing it can do is help with testicular atrophy, which is the shrinking of the testicles that can happen when you're on testosterone sometimes. But gonadorelin, I had to learn this the hard way, has no effect on fertility, and it is one of the biggest reasons that people find themselves infertile on a TRT protocol, because some doctor who is just taking his information from a textbook saw that you should use gonadorelin. It's trash. And I know it may seem like I'm bashing all doctors in this video. I'm not. I have a lot of doctors who are my employees. But what I am saying is that a lot of doctors in the industry are untrained. And I know this because I've interviewed hundreds of them. And I know that their information level and their knowledge base just comes from a place of ignorance. Unless, of course, they have done the research themselves, actively used products themselves, or prescribed them to a large quantity of people. They've seen some of the nuances. Bottom line is, the days of having to choose being bulked, sloppy, and fat, or lean, weak, and scrawny are behind us. We now live in the future where you can achieve both at the same time at incredible levels and develop that Hollywood physique that you've always dreamed of. So guys, if you like videos like this and you like learning about ways to improve the body in all forms and facets, I post 2 videos like this every single week where I teach you about some way to improve some function of the human body. If you want to see more of them, all you have to do is hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications so that you never miss a new piece of information. And I will see you guys in the next one.